Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Foundation's road trip across America. Thanks for joining us today. We are in Rockledge, Florida, meeting with Kevin Saltsman, who's the developer of this upcoming new entertainment facility known as Route 7 Adrenaline Warehouse. This is a 57,000 square foot facility that's going to be packed with some of the greatest entertainment that this industry offers. Kevin, thanks for joining us today.
Gary, thanks. Glad to have you in Florida.
So, and I'm happy to be here because as a Northeasterner, I can tell you it's really nice to be in the 85-degree weather.
Well, we can provide that this week for sure. That's the fact. I think it's actually hit 90s today. So.
I got to tell you, that's probably one of the greatest things about creating indoor entertainment here, is that when it gets hot outside, everybody can come back inside.
That's it. And we are many months out of our year. It's just these kids today, they just, they get outside and they're all sweaty. They don't want to do that. They want to come inside and cool off. And we're going to have them a little esports arena where they can do their tech things they do at home and come in here and do it inside. And some go-karts and a lot of fun attractions just for them to come in and have fun indoors.
Well, you know what? I know our viewers can appreciate this. This is a very big undertaking that you're going through. We started working together in 2017, and obviously it's been a few years. But the greatest thing about that time is this concept has really fine-tuned itself, hasn't it?
It has.
We started with a much smaller philosophy in mind, didn't we?
We did. Yeah, we started, if you remember, about 38,000 square feet. It was actually at the time when Sports Authority was in Chapter 11 and closing down so many facilities across the country. And there was one not far from here, as the crow flies, probably 6 miles from this location. We started negotiations, if you remember, on that. And right at the finish line, when we thought we were the deal, the landlord and the owner decided to go a different direction with a different tenant that they had a national footprint with. So,
frustrating.
Yeah, so frustrating. Yeah, when you think you're that close, and oh well, can't win them all. We weren't gonna let that whip us, so we went back into it. But as you know, it's hard to find large square footage, the big box.
But we kept looking.
We did,
and that was the key. Persistence always pays off in this case. Yeah. And we did have another opportunity that did come up.
Yeah.
And we did consider that. And that one was a ground up, wasn't it?
It was. It was. Just the dirt price in Florida, especially in Brevard County right now, East Central Florida, is just through the roof. We had one that we thought was going to be a good deal, had 2 owners on it, was probably our biggest problem. And the 2 owners just had a different vision of where they wanted to go, so I don't think they ever really truly wanted to sell the place. They come to find out. So that fell through, and we had looked at this location probably now almost 3 years ago.
Okay.
And to me, it was a no-go. I just, for some reason, I didn't like where it was situated in the county. Said, no, we're not going to do it. Well, almost 2 years later, a year and a half later, we circled back to this same spot. And at that point, it made sense to me. And I said, I don't know if it was because I was just tiring of the search for land to build it, but now I am so glad it came circled back to this spot.
Well, what's interesting, and for our viewers, they'll probably be interested to know, this is the former Gannett newspaper plant, isn't it?
It is.
So very large campus, very large infrastructure. And you're obviously utilizing 57,000 square feet of it.
Right.
So what was the impetus to actually increase the size?
As you know, we wanted go-karts. We wanted go-karts really bad. We were going to still squeeze them in that 38,000 square feet, but it just wasn't going to be the track that we really wanted to offer to the consumer.
That's right.
So this came available. The big ceiling heights were important. So we have in this back section of this warehouse, we're almost 40 feet, and it slopes to the front down to the mid-20s. Because we wanted to have a zip line is what I started with. I was just envisioning just a straight ride zip line from one end to the other. So we wanted the ceiling heights, and also, by your recommendations for the ropes and all the elevated attractions, we wanted that height as well. So that's why we came back to this location and decided, this is the spot. Now it's an old warehouse. That's what it was, a newspaper printing press.
Well, what's interesting, though, is it has heavy infrastructure.
It does.
So the ability to really handle all of the power needs and sizing needs of some of these aggressive attractions really works pretty well.
Yeah, it does. 480 volt 3-phase was all over this place. So there was no need to have to build a whole lot of electrical infrastructure here, just a little distribution to move it where we needed it. But yeah, I joke now with people is, on the east coast of Florida, hurricane season, well, we're in a fortress here, right? This building is going nowhere.
True.
And we have backup generation, so we're going to be the hurricane party place when the storms are coming up the east coast. We're going to be open for business. Yeah.
Well, I got to say, it seems once the building got bigger, your creative juices started flowing. Because my recollection of the design process here was you really became very engrossed in adding as much entertainment as you could add to this model.
Right. And you and I had talked, is our goal was we wanted to build this in this county to prevent any other operator from coming in and competing with us. So we just thought, we're going to go at this thing, let's do it right to start with, let's invest the money, let's get the capital outlay right, let's build a facility that Jerry was not going to want to come to town 50 miles down the road and say, you know what, I don't know that I want to compete with that guy. Just don't know if there's enough market share there. So that was our goal, is just let's load this thing up. And we wanted to expand the consumer base and our age range. We wanted the birthday parties for the 4 and 5 year olds to be a fun time. And,
super important.
And I wanted to race guys like you on go-karts, and let those folks have a good time as well.
So really something for everybody here.
For everybody.
Covering the families, the adults, and the corporate and the event side of the business, this facility can really handle it all.
Yes.
Because you've got the infrastructure to do it.
Correct.
That's pretty darn impressive. So, a lot of our viewers are looking to develop entertainment facilities themselves. Can you give us an idea of what your background is? Maybe you can share with our viewers a little bit about sort of what your career has looked like.
Well, certainly not entertainment, I can tell you. My career has been in electric utility construction. Basically, we build power lines.
Okay.
I've been in that work my entire life, since 2002 in business for myself doing that. Florida Power and Light's our biggest customer. And so that's my previous life. And it wasn't the best business. I have 5 kids. So it wasn't the
Full house.
Full house. It's getting a little less. Only one left at home now. But it wasn't the best business to transfer to kids. Okay. It's a tough industry and just a different world. 3 of our children are girls, as you know. So we started thinking, let's look for something that we can do, be a true family business where anybody who chose to, any of our 5 kids, could get involved in it. And our goal is to someday parlay this into 2 or 3 different locations scattered throughout East Central Florida. And then I joke with Lori that Lori and I are going to mail a postcard to the kids and just let them know where to send us a check, wherever we're going to be.
Well, this is an exceptional idea, though, really bringing the family into the overall business model. I think that's one of the greatest things we can do in this industry is really help the next generation get started. And that's really what you're doing here. And let me ask you, Kevin, what are the kids' reactions?
Oh, they're excited. They're all excited. Every one of them want a role in it somehow. Jenna, our oldest daughter, which you've met and talked to at length, she's actually going to be the general manager from day one, starting up the operation. So,
this is very exciting to have an entire family as part of the business. Everyone has to buy in, because I think as one of the things I've learned over the years, to develop something of this significance, everyone has to support you. You need that support to be able to make it happen.
So we're all going to be involved. I said Jenna will be a general manager. Christine and Alyssa are going to be in on marketing. Austin is going to be a role as an operations, assistant GM type.
Right.
So the goal is we're all in here. We all learn this on this first one together, because we're going to be learning as well. Lori and I. So that when we're ready to branch out to that second and third location, they're all well seasoned and ready to go up. Say, yeah, I can run that. And
true to the Saltsman philosophy, we've got everybody involved in this process and business. And with us now are Jenna and Christina, who are going to share a little bit of information with us on how we're going to keep this operation rolling.
Yeah.
Ladies, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, we're happy to be here. It's an exciting stage of the process.
Well, it really is, because you get to see all the nuts and bolts of how it all comes together.
Literally.
And I have found one of the greatest things in managing a business like this is to know where everything is located and how it was put together.
Right.
Because when things happen, and they will happen,
Right.
you know exactly how to solve it.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we're going to be here for the operational day in and day out, and I think knowing the building inside and out is only going to be a benefit for us.
It really will be. So give me an idea. How involved have the two of you been in this process?
Well, this process has been, I think for about 5 years ago that Dad brought the idea.
And what have you been doing as far as kind of preparing yourself for the ultimate day of, hey, this facility is going to open, we're going to be responsible for having to handle the day-to-day operations of
I feel
it.
my blood pressure rising. I just say
I'll let Jenna start speaking to that because she's, as the general manager, she's been a lot
Yeah,
more
I've been-
involved in the day-to-day.
Right,
as
I've been
of
lucky
yet.
enough to work alongside my dad a lot with going over as far as blueprints too. You know,
Yes.
so this is what we're looking at. Jerry's put this together.
And Christina, what about you in terms of the marketing side of this business? That's a
Yes.
critical part of
It
what
is.
has to happen.
So good at it too.
That's my forte, so I'm excited to jump in when it's my time to shine here.
Yeah.
I've definitely been tag teaming with Jenna. It's been a lot of fun making the menu, being a part of it. And when it's go time, which coming up here in a month or so, it's going to be time to jump in full throttle, and that's when I'm going to take the reins, and we're ready to go.
How do you think we market a business like this?
So that's a good question. It's going to be a lot of fun. So in this day and age, obviously, we're going to rely very heavily on social media. It's a digital world. We think, especially with COVID, things have just, the arena has changed, right? People communicate differently. We're spaced out. But social media has kind of been the one form that's held us all
Yes.
together. And so we're going to rely really heavily on that, and not just being a part of the community, but we want to engage with them. We want them to take just as much pride in this facility as we do. We want them to be involved in it. We want them to be here and love it, and we want to make that emotional connection with them. And we're going to do that a lot through social media.
What about on the employee side? You know, we're going to need to employ a significant number of employees
we're
within the
looking-
facility.
Yes.
You know, we've got to hire them, we've got to mentor them. How do we move through this process in creating a culture on the
Yes.
inside of the facility?
Yes.
Right. Well, we all think that first jobs are important, and we know that we are going to have a lot of teenagers and young adults in this facility. So we
Yes.
are going to take that advantage to help mentor the youth, place them
Okay.
where they're going to be strong, help them grow both professionally and personally while they're working with us. I think we're looking at about 67 employees is what we're budgeted for at the time being. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of people here, a lot of different roles, but we're hiring on training staff, and they're
Excellent.
going to help us, you know, with different nodes of entertainment and training, and then we have the kitchen staff as well and birthday parties. So there's a bunch of different moving parts. Everyone will be cross-trained to some level, but for mostly we're going to try to keep people expertise in their area.
How do you feel about this issue of culture? You know, they say with a lot of businesses, if you have a positive culture
Yes.
within the business itself, the business can succeed.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
What are you feeling in that regard?
We've always said from day one that if Disney and Chick-fil-A had a baby, that is Route
Yes,
7.
that's what we want.
That is what our goal is.
Customer
That's
service.
100%. We're gonna. We believe that happy employees produce happy customers,
Correct.
right? You treat your employees good, you take care of them, they're gonna work hard for
They'll
you.
be family, extended family for sure.
And what about yourselves? You know, you're being held to a very high standard. You know, I've known your dad for many years. You know, he's very much of a doer.
Yes.
Yes.
He has very strong principles as it relates to success. You know, do you find yourself in a situation where it's certainly beyond the job, so to speak? You're here to really make this facility a success.
Oh yeah, we want to make Dad proud. We
Yes.
he's holding us to a high level standard, and we will perform to that
Yes.
as well. So.
Yeah.
We were raised working together on all kinds of different projects, whether it's home renovation projects on each other's houses,
Yeah.
you know, just building fun things with the family. So we know what he's expecting, and we're going to try to surpass that.
Are there things that scare you, or things
Absolutely.
that you worry about?
The whole
Yeah.
thing. But at the end of the day, there's no one else I would rather do this whole project with than the 7 people in my family. No one's
Yeah.
going to work harder. And that's what I think what it comes down to. We know at the end of the day, it's going to be hard. Our backs are going to be against the wall, but we're going to pull it off, and it's going to be awesome.
Well, and that's the key, right? You've got to have drive, and you've got to
Yes.
have persistence.
Absolutely.
And you've got to get the word out, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
the world needs to know you exist.
Yes.
You know you've got the best product in the
Yes,
marketplace.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Now we've got to let everybody else know where it's at. So I want to clarify for our viewers a little bit. I've learned a lot about you over the last 4 years, and I know that you are an individual that's a doer. You're the guy that gets in the trench, and you're not afraid to get your hands dirty and get it done. it seems like the entire family has taken on that philosophy.
Yeah, if not, I was going to kick them out. That's one thing I can say about our kids is they all know how to work and are not afraid to work because they all realize, you know what, on the other side of that work, what we're doing.
That's right.
And they've seen that in their life growing up, and so because of that, you know, they're willing. They've all just are entrepreneurial by nature, and are willing to get in there and roll up their sleeves and work. When we talk about, hey, what's each other's role going to be in the facility, I said, well, tomorrow we might be cleaning toilets. You know, the next day we might be dropping French fries in the fryer. We could be sitting in the office making a corporate sales deal. I mean, everybody's going to have to be able to do
This
everything.
is real life.
It is.
This is how the business works.
It is.
So with everybody on board and everybody with a common goal, how did the name come about? Route 7 Adrenaline Warehouse.
Well, we had a naming competition that went drug on for almost for a long time, and nobody ever came up with the name that was the winner in the family. And I had a financial prize attached to that.
Did you really?
Yeah, nobody ever hit it. Yeah. But the number 7 was important because with 7 of us, 5 kids and so the family number was 7. The Route 7 we liked.
Yeah.
And then you and I had talked about taglines, and we had been up to another facility that had adrenaline in their name, and this place being a warehouse, we go, okay, Route 7 Adrenaline Warehouse.
It started to make sense.
Sounds good, So we have the warehouse place covered. We're going to have plenty of adrenaline pumping in here.
That is without a doubt.
We got all 7 of the family members right there. And actually, it's funny, Lori looked, and the bus route for US 1 along this section is for the scat bus is Route 7.
How lucky is that?
Yeah, how about that?
Maybe we can drill down a little bit into the mechanics of how we got here in terms of the research that you did. I mean, I know that you were excited about the idea of maybe moving off the current career and finding a business for the family. But what level of research were you doing to make sure that this was the right choice from a business perspective?
Well, it was really not a lot of research into it until we got to foundations. All right.
So as a Foundations University graduate.
Yep.
There you go, folks.
Yep. If you remember back in 2017, myself, Lori, my wife, and our oldest son, Austin, we all attended Foundations up there in Jersey.
So when you attended Foundations, you walked away from that with a thought process on what do we need to do here? And that first step you took was the market study, wasn't it? Because you needed to understand, what is this market capable of?
Yeah, so before because I knew my industry that I was in, right? But you don't know what you don't know.
That's a good point.
So, and obviously this is going to be a very big investment if we chose to do it. So it was a no-brainer after going through the first weekend of Foundations up there, getting to meet you and your team, that, hey, this market feasibility study, it's an absolute must. I mean, to me, would have been or could have been financial suicide to walk into this industry without that.
So this is an important point for really everybody that enters the industry. We've got to do our homework in advance.
You do.
Because this type of process spirals, and before you know it, you're making a very significant investment, not only in the actual components that you're buying, but the commitments that you're making, in this case to a landlord, to a bank.
Right.
All of those things fall into the decision-making process.
Exactly.
But once you had that feasibility study in hand, it gave you a little bit of a roadmap, which was good. And it allowed us to really zero in on the real estate issue, on how we were going to select real estate that was going to match that model.
And if you remember, another thing that came into more of our location selection too was the USSSA Sports Association.
Sports location.
That moved to Brevard County, where the Washington Nationals used to be for spring training. When they vacated, the county ended up luring USSSA to come in and take that. So they have 1 million unique visitors that come to Brevard County within 5-6 miles of here annually now. And these are all travel baseball, softball players that come in just by the thousands. And so they pile up in hotel rooms at night when they're done playing in their tournaments and with nothing to do. And I know that because our boys used to do the same thing, and your daughter...
We're doing it firsthand, right?
So that was just going to be, above and beyond. And as you know, we did not include that in our market study, even though we knew that was coming. So the market study made perfectly good sense that this was going to work. And then we throw those numbers that were not included in it on top of it, and it just really made it.
Which is a massive level of visitation for the market. Yeah. That's the gravy, right? That's the gravy that ultimately we're looking for. Right. So once we got ourselves through all the mechanics of making sure that we had a sound financial plan, and we had to shift into the idea of designing the facility, how active were you in the design process, Kevin?
Oh, quite a bit.
So tell us about that.
Well, as you know, work with Dynamic Designs, Doug Wilkerson,
yep.
and his team there. And again, with not having any base of knowledge for this, other than going and visiting somebody else's facility, really didn't have any. It didn't make sense to me. Frank would talk about which way people turn when they come in the door. I had no idea about that. So you start learning about those things, and so we started with the 38,000 square foot layout, and Doug would send over his designs of this, that, and that there, and so I tried to walk through them in my mind. And if you remember, because there was no drawings I could work with. It wasn't like I could move something with CAD or something,
Sure.
So I printed these things out, and if you remember,
yes, I do.
And I would cut out, because they were to scale, right? So it was easy. I could cut out the attraction, and I would move them around, and I would take a picture of that, and I told you, hey, this is.
And you would send those pictures to me, and I would see all the attractions cut out and moved in various spots.
And that was the redneck version of cut and paste, remember?
But the greatest thing about it was you really got immersed in the design. Yeah. You really got a sense of the attractions, where they're going to go, how the facility's going to flow, right. And that allowed you to work closely with Doug in interacting and understanding those flow plans. Yeah. When you got to the final design, it felt right, didn't it?
It did. It did.
So many things about it, and obviously our viewers won't be able to see it yet, but we'll do a little walk through the facility to give them an idea of the scope of this building. When those attractions are in place, the visuals in this facility are going to be phenomenal. And I know that was one of your key goals. Yeah. You wanted it to be special when people walk through that door.
Exactly. And our anchor attraction being the go-karts, the first thing they're going to see when they walk through that door is they're going to be looking right through to the go-kart track.
So the ultimate showcase attraction is front and center for everybody to see. Is that a reason why we're standing in front of a NASCAR vehicle?
It is, actually.
Is this your daily driver?
It is my daily driver. That's it. Now, I was able to find this from a local race team. I called them because I knew of them, and gave them a call. I said, hey, do you have any rolling chassis over there? Just so happened we do. And as a matter of fact, he hollers, hey, Dad, stop. His dad was out there getting ready to drill the rivets and take the skin off of this car. So we picked this up, and it's actually going to be suspended from the ceiling. It's going to be dropped maybe about 4 feet nose to rear,
right,
and right to left. So when you walk in our front door, the first thing you're going to see is the go-kart track in front of you, and then raised up, suspended from the ceiling, well, this race car will be hanging.
Oh, that's fun.
It's going to be a neat visual. You'll be looking right at this logo when they come in. And
nothing like some real props,
right,
to add to the ambiance of the facility.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, you know, once the design piece was done, obviously we had negotiated with the landlord. The landlord agreed to participate a bit in the build-out of the interior of the space, which was helpful. Yes. But then you had to move on to the issue of financing. And how did you go about that process?
Well, as you know, we went to several, local and regional lenders here. It was a tough go, but we, stayed at it, and we were able to find one that could wrap their head around our vision and believed in us, and so we got it done with a regional lender here.
You're not a guy that takes no easily, are you?
No, and that was, but it took some traction to make that happen, as you know.
And let's keep that in mind, because obviously we've gone through the whole COVID mess. Yeah. And when this process was underway, COVID was a very big part of what was happening in our lives during the development process here. And that was obviously weighing on the banks as well. So in addition to the normal financing struggles for any new project, you now had the COVID challenge on top of you as well.
Exactly.
But perseverance always pays off. And you're cut from that cloth. You just don't give up easily, and that's the key to getting to the finish line.
That's it. No hill for a climber, right?
For sure.
We were going to get it done. But you're right. You know, the COVID it had so many lenders scared to death, right? Because what were other facilities like this doing? Locking the doors.
Exactly.
See you guys in a few months, hopefully. And those lenders were scared, and rightfully so. I mean, but we just had to keep on until we found the one that was willing.
And that was ultimately the way to go. So then, ultimately, you moved into the construction phase, and that's where we're at right now.
Yes.
We've got this building pulled apart, and all of the infrastructure is now going into it.